One of the most important elements which determine the level of immersion that a player will experience in Cyberpunk 2077 will be the interactions between thee and the inhabitants of Night City. Suffice to say, Cyberpunk 2020 contains a cornucopia of characters that CDPR can add to the Cyberpunk 2077 game that emulate a social hierarchy not too dissimilar from our own. When writing the source material for Cyberpunk 2020, Mike Pondsmith aptly used the analogy of a coral reef to represent the diversity of life one shall meet on the streets of Night City. Just like a coral reef, each area of Night City has its own type of native life form. Some are secretive and deadly, such as sharks. Others wrap themselves in camouflage to get the jump on their prey. Some, like hermit crabs, take their heavy armor and weapons wherever they go. In Cyberpunk 2020, the populace can be broadly demarcated into 7 distinct types, many of whom one can expect to make an appearance in Cyberpunk 2077. These are power dealers, corpse owners, movers, edgerunners, mulplexers, beavers, and street scum. Power dealers, without doubt, are top of the food chain in the cyberpunk world. Elusive and secretive, they represent the CEOs of the megacorporations or world-famous media personalities, and those that pull the strings behind international politics. As the social elite, they are always surrounded by an impressive entourage and security detail. These individuals live lives filled with unimaginable extravagance, treat themselves to the best that money can buy, eating luxurious organic food, attending concerts, expensive banquets, or indulging themselves with bioengineered sex toys. Most power dealers are found living in penthouses of the towering monoliths of Night City's corporate centre. While power dealers exert their influence internationally, it is the corpse owners who manage the running of the corporations on a national level. These individuals also live in the corporate zone of Night City, albeit not in the extravagant penthouses that the power dealers reside in. Their lifestyle is elegant and on the cutting edge, with many having personal servants, fitness trainers, maids and bodyguards. Corpse owners often have contracts with private protection firms such as Arasaka Security. Their pastimes include attending galleries, restaurants, playing tennis and recreational drug use. On the fringe of the corporate zone, where more affordable apartments are found, are those commonly referred to as movers. Typically, these are the individuals that are on the lowest rung of the corporate ladder. Movers neither have the finances or time for the ostentatious lifestyle of the power dealers and corpse owners. In line with the Red Queen hypothesis, a mover typically spends most of their time working for an advancement opportunity or to ensure they do not fall off the corporate ladder. The next level of social hierarchy is occupied by the Edgerunners, also known as the Cyberpunks, whom no doubt you will become intimately familiar with during your time in Cyberpunk 2077. Edgerunners are the most heterogeneous group in the cyberpunk narrative, and often the characteristic that defines them is their unorthodox lifestyles. Their occupations cover the full spectrum of activities: smuggling, assassination, netrunning, or more artistic endeavours such as musicians or entertainers. Capricious in nature, 1 month an Edgerunner can be highly successful, enjoying the pleasures of organic food or erotic brain dances, while the next month it may be dining upon roasted rat kebabs. In contrast to the Edgerunners, we have the mundane mulplexers. A mulplex is the cyberpunk equivalent of the middle class. Miserable corporate slaves who spend their life in economic bondage. The name mulplex is derived from mega shopping malls that the middle class reside in. Originally, these were heavily secured urban shopping malls, but over time underwent modification with the addition of office towers and residential apartments. Because of the high degree of security they afford to the inhabitants, mulplexes generally survived the collapse of American society. However, their popularity meant competition for space became intense. Inhabitants typically live in a single room with bathroom facilities, and these are often shared with others. The middle class do mundane jobs such as sales, clerical or service positions, or simply flipping burgers to make a living. The beavers. The monikers derive from the derogatory street slang, "leave it to beaver," perhaps a reference to an old American television sitcom. Beavers are another form of middle-class worker, although in contrast to the mallplexers, they live in corporate-owned and controlled housing developments on the outskirts of Night City's urban area. There are several Beavervilles, such as Westwind Estates in Pacifica, Apple Corporate Valley in Haywood, and Executive Estates in Westbrook. They are all connected to the corporate centre by private maglev lines. Life in Beaverville tends to be clean, quiet, and far more family-friendly than the mallplex. The final category is the street scum. The moniker is self-explanatory. Too poor to afford rent in a mallplex, street scum are forced to live in the combat zone in decaying, dilapidated tenements. The alternatives are coffins, cube-like structures which are nothing more than sleeping modules for the homeless. The combat zone is where you will find the most notorious gangs, cultists, dothers, killers and other deviants. Security is non-existent, with the corporations only occasionally sending in a squad to clean up things to prevent trouble spreading to other parts of Night City. Typically, a street scum sustenance revolves around kibble and the epitome of fine cuisine, the infamous roasted rat. It will be interesting if CDPR expand on the list of rodent recipes. I am Kazuliski, and I hope you found a succinct discussion on the potential social hierarchy in Cyberpunk 2077 to be informative. Thank you for watching.